Now, this is the last round of the Allianz National Football League, and I suppose I have to take time out once again to take a look at the permutations for this weekend. And delighted to say I'm joined by Damien Donoghue, our regular Cavan GA correspondent, and also Fergal Monaghan from a Monaghan perspective. And I suppose maybe, Damien, I'll start with yourself first. Just a general synopsis of the Allianz National Football League. I was just taking a look here. 4 divisions we know, 8 teams, 32 counties involved, and the only 3 things we know for certain this weekend: Kerry are in the final, Galway are promoted, Down are relegated. This has to be one of the best GA competitions on the calendar.
Ah, yeah, without a doubt. And the funny thing is that we always say it, and have been saying it for years, is that the league produces the best games because you're playing teams of equal ability. And from Cavan's point of view, maybe we found out that in Division 4, because we didn't go hammering teams. Like, you know, I think the average winning margin for Cavan is 4.5 points per game. So while it's a win and it's a, you know, an average comfortable win, it's not hammering anybody. And you see the same in Division 1 right through, the odd exception to the rule. But in general, it is the best competition because you're playing teams of similar level to you. And I personally think it's time. Look, we're not getting the structures too much, but I think that it is time to take the learning from the leagues and say let's apply more of this to the championship. Because, like, I know in Cavan's case, you saw got to 3,000 supporters go over to London to watch them play in a competitive game and in a good game. Granted, it was Paddy's weekend, and the Cavan boys maybe heard that it was free into to McGovern Park, so we took advantage of it. We paid a flight, we paid a hotel, but once we're getting something free, we feel like we're getting value out of it. So, like, people want to go and see these games. People want to go and see competitive games, and that's what you get consistently in the league. There's no guarantee of those consistent competitive games in championship, and I think that could be addressed, but hopefully it will be.
Yeah, Fergal, it probably is being slowly addressed by the association. We know obviously the league will play a part now in the championship going forward, with where your league position and being in regards to where you get into the knockout stage of the championship if you're knocked out of your provincial competition. So I suppose there is an acceptance now that the championship's always above and beyond, naturally enough, but that the league is definitely coming up on parity with it.
Yeah, especially as well because it's coming so hot and heavy on top. The championship's coming right after this league. There's not a big break with the condensed season. We're going to have it all done and dusted by the end of July to see who's the All-Ireland champions. But, you know, just as I say, we won't go into structure and everything. But I suppose if you look at all the GAA club, ladies football, it is divided into divisions, whether it be junior, intermediate, senior, whatever. So look, it makes perfect sense that a championship structure would have the same thing. And as you say, we're creeping towards that. Possibly the league format that we have at the minute is maybe the best, but then of course usually you might have a couple of dead rubbers, but this weekend that you've mentioned it's all up for grabs. We'll come to the fixture list and how fixtures can work for you and can work against you. But, you know, this is going to be a seriously interesting weekend. You're going to be watching one eye on the game and one eye on Twitter or on your phone to see how it's going to pan out. And I suppose that's brilliant. That's exciting. That's what people want. And the league really does. And for the last couple of years, the league has captured people's attention and imagination because of what you just said, competitive games against teams in the one division who are, you know, there's not usually any mismatches. Although having said that, you do on occasion, it happens, which for whatever reason, but thoroughly enjoy the league. Always really exciting, and it really gives a team, you know, where you're at, and at what level you really are at, and it's a real true reflection of that, because, you know, anyone can get caught on one particular day or even whatever a second day, but over a period of 7 games, you know, if you don't make the cut, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but if you don't make the cut, like, you can only blame yourself possibly.
Yeah, of course. Damien, Fergal probably touched on it there, and we will look at the fixtures. We'll start with Division 4 because there is an element of certainty there, to a percentage, I suppose. Cavan with 1 foot in that league final. They meet Waterford this weekend. 6 o'clock, I see the game's now moved to Kingspan Breffni Saturday night. And I suppose the other game that could big consequences, Tipperary and London in that division. Sligo and Leitrim we know are meeting as well, but they'll know their fate. They're out on Sunday. They'll know their fate, unfortunately, going by the results from Saturday night. But it's not all done and dusted for Cavan. Everybody expected Cavan would be more or less confirmed promoted come maybe the final stages of the league. Not the case, but they should get the job done Saturday.
Yeah, like it takes actually London drawn with Tipperary, and then Cavan being beaten by Waterford by 6 points, I think it is, and then obviously a winner between Sligo and Leitrim, and that's the only way Cavan can get not get promoted. So mathematically, it's possible, and if Cavan are asleep, but look, at the thing is, Cavan have it in their own hands. Tipperary have it in their own hands. The thing that I look at on this is that in Division 4, it's not a gimme that Tipperary is going to beat London. And I know it might sound like, it's the Cavan man trying to play up the 1 point win against London at the weekend. This is the best London side I've ever seen, and they're really well organised. They know what they're about. They know how they want to attack. They can attack in different ways. They've got physically very strong players. James Gavigan at centre forward, James Gallagher at full forward, Gavigan at centre forward. Really, really good footballers. Like they have Henry Walsh coming in from the corner there, but loads of pace in it. They can play you with high ball in, they can play you with direct pace running off the shoulder, they can play low ball in towards the corners, and they will cause a lot of teams trouble. So Tipperary, it's not a gimme that they're going to beat London here. The big one for me, I just love to have seen. I understand. So Tipperary London game was the first to be moved, and then Waterford, when they seen that moved, asked Cavan would they move, and Cavan were happy enough to go to Saturday night, given the permutation that most likely outcome is Cavan are playing in a league final the following Saturday. So the extra day's rest makes all the difference there as well, and it puts it on a level playing field with your most likely opponent, which is Tipperary. But for Sligo Leitrim, I think they've a real chance. And if that game was on at the same time, it would make for great excitement on the table. I think that maybe, look, Sligo Leitrim maybe didn't want to go and play the game at the same time. But what Fergal was talking about, watching the game and watching Twitter, Cavan won't be looking at that. They'll know, well, Sligo or Tipperary London result is already over at that stage. So you have a fair idea of what you need to do or what the possibilities are. And if it's a thing that Tipperary beat London, then the Waterford game is irrelevant for Cavan, because you're through on the head-to-head with Sligo and Leitrim anyway.
Yeah, of course, and I suppose that's the thing about it. It's in Cavan's control as to what they want. I'm just thinking, last year they travelled with destiny in their hands. The Navan was seeing what happened, and there's something in the back of my head. Waterford caused an upset once before, I think, in Cavan ranks, didn't they, back a number of years ago? Was that a qualifier or a league game?
Yeah, it was a league game. How well you remember that in 2006? It was actually, promotion. Cavan just, they had to beat Waterford for promotion out of Division 2, was it A or 2B at the time in 2006, and Waterford, without winning the game, came up to Kingspan Breffni on a Sunday and beat Cavan, denying promotion. So that was a defeat. It took a long time for Cavan to get over. I think that led to, a lot of players not really wanting to commit and not wanting to play. That's the worry for this. Even if Tipperary go and beat London and there's nothing to play for, Cavan still can't go out and lose to Waterford, because that has its psychological scars to take on the players. And you have a lot of players on this Cavan side that are 29, 30, 31 years of age. A lot of the key players, like, you want to be keeping every one of them for another year or 2 or 3 years, so that you've got that level of experience around the camp. And maybe a defeat to Waterford kind of would make them ask the question in the close season, well, why am I doing this? You don't want to have that question. Go out and beat Waterford, beat them comfortably, move into a league final. Hopefully you get some success there, and it gives them motivation for another season.
Yeah, of course. And I suppose the thing is as well, and this is where Michael Graham would want it to be in his hands. It is in his hands. He's in control of the team's in control of the destiny.
Yeah, completely. And that's it. And as I was saying over the last couple of weeks, while Cavan haven't put together a complete performance in the league at all, they've put together all the elements that are needed for a complete performance, including goal scoring chances. They've done loads of really good presses on opposition kickouts, good defensive structure at times, good ball winning off their own kickouts. They have all of the key elements that are needed, but they just haven't put them all together in a game, for even a half, really, to be honest about it. So I think that Cavan will look at it and say, right, we've got to piece this all together. we've got to start to do it soon, because as Fergal mentioned, it's not that you've got 5-6 weeks of a gap between league and championship like you used to have. It's coming thick and it's coming fast. Like 4 weeks time, Cavan play Antrim, and that's going to be in the mind of the players and the management. Who's going to be putting up their hands now? Who's going to be making a stake for the jersey, a claim for the jersey in Corrigan Park? And it's time to start showing your best side.
It certainly is. You touched on Corrigan Park. It's confirmed the fixture's going to be there. There was a lot about Witcherberry, about this and about that. At the end of the day, the game was never going to be moved.
Never going to be moved. No, it was. Look, it is where it's meant to be, and whatever concerns there were over capacity, it wasn't something that was of Cavan County Board or the Cavan management or the Cavan players. They didn't ask Ulster Council for this, so it was something that was always going to be Corrigan Park. There was a big pile of smoke over very little flame.
Yeah, it was indeed. Fergal, I'm just looking at the screen set up here. Cavan up at the top. That's where the final says Division 4. Monaghan down at the bottom of Division 1, and you're below us here as well. A Monaghan team, can I say, they're not in control of their destiny. They have to go out and win, but they're still looking up the table at teams that, if they win, could go into a final. If they lose, could be relegated. Division 1, an absolute minefield.
Yeah, it is a minefield, and it's, I talked about the league being a fair reflection on things, and from a Monaghan point of view, it's been disappointing. It's been nearly misses, draws with Armagh, a Mayo game that again in Clonus where we probably were in control and let that one slip, a draw with Tyrone, and we eventually got a win against Donegal. It's amazing how a week can change. We bounced out of Ballybuffet. We were in control. We knew that a win in Newbridge would put our destiny in our own hands, like we talked about. But that manner of that Newbridge defeat, it was coupled with two things. It was just Monaghan were incredibly flat, struggled with the physicality of Kildare, and Kildare had one of those great days in Newbridge for themselves with 24 points and 5 wides. I think they were just everything they were hitting going over, but Monaghan couldn't lay a glove on them. And Monaghan, I think, looking at it, Monaghan are struggling a little bit with the non-Ulster teams. We've lost now to Kildare, we've lost to Mayo, we've drawn with all we haven't been beaten by an Ulster team, but we're coming up against a non-Ulster team again on Sunday. And you're right, destiny is not in our hands, and the fixture gods have not been kind to us. I would have loved now in hindsight to have had Dublin in the first game rather than the last game, because I said Dublin would be relegated. They might win and still get relegated, because all the other teams who are playing the relegation battle in teams, Kildare are playing Mayo. We saw Mayo against Tyrone. I don't know where did that really motivated in that game against Tyrone. Donegal are playing Armagh. They're playing in the championship in 4 weeks' time. Armagh are safe, so it'll be interesting what hand Kieran McGeeney plays there. And Tyrone are going down to Kerry. Now, Kerry have been playing. They're in the final. Does Jack O'Connor really want to give Tyrone hope by putting out his strongest team and making that a battle? Will he just let Tyrone? It's hard to know how it'll work. I hope all those things don't come. That's the most negative outcome, that all those teams will win and that Monaghan will get a positive result against Dublin, and still won't be enough. But all Monaghan can do is come out swinging on Sunday, and whatever happens, stay with their boots on, because I think they will do that. But the manner of the defeat in Newbridge, Sean, was worrying. We do struggle with those big physical teams, and Dublin have come into a bit of form. Getting a few players back. But I was looking at Fenton and Tom Lahiff in the midfield. Fenton was very, very strong around the centre there. And they're getting Brian Howard, very physically strong as well, back in. Kilkenny's in there full forward, and Rock as well. Look, it's going to be bad. We know all about Dublin. It's what Monaghan can bring. But I do think Monaghan, this is a great group of players. They haven't had a great league campaign. Hasn't gone well for them at times. They're shooting, etc. We've highlighted this throughout the league. But one thing's for sure, they're not going to go down lightly on Sunday. Could be one of the great days. I go back to that Galway match last year in Clonus, where we were dead and buried, and came back somehow. Got a bit of luck with Paul Conroy's black card, and we pulled ourselves back into it and eventually won. Now, Dublin are a different proposition, but from a Monaghan point of view, I don't like the thought. Some people say, going down mightn't be a bad thing. I don't like the idea of Monaghan going down. We're proud of preserving our status for this amount of years. And just from all the teams coming into that environment, young players coming from under 20 level, coming into senior, playing Division 1 football, playing the likes of Kerry, Dublin, Tyrone, etc. I think it's massive, and I think it raises the standard and the environment that those players are coming into. So I really hope that everything kind of falls into place. But all Monaghan can do, like irregardless of all the other 3 teams, Sean, all we can do is put in a performance that we haven't done consistently throughout the league, which is a bit frustrating from our point of view and from the, I suppose, Monaghan team management point of view as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's the big thing. The performance, obviously, the key is what Fanti will be looking for. Firstly, get the win, and then obviously it's out of your hands at that stage in regards to how other teams would fare or how they could aid you maybe in keeping your status. But Monaghan have found themselves here before. I can recall numerous occasions down in Kerry a number of years ago. A 45 from Darren Hughes was more than enough at that time to keep us there. You've noted the Galway game. I think Colin Walsh up in Blaney scored a point against Donegal.
Yeah.
The last kick of the game to keep Monaghan up. So it's not as if they haven't been here before. They're not used to these situations.
Yeah, that's true. Like Malachy, when Malachy Rourke was over Monaghan, we never. This is you case, but like I think Monaghan, will look back if whatever happens, and be a little bit disappointed that they're probably in this position. Like they could be further up the table with a few different, if things had to pan out, because the performances in the games that they didn't lose have been very, very good. And even the game they lost against Mayo, played very well, probably in control of that game until the last 20 minutes, whatever happened. And but the table doesn't lie at the end of the day. You have 7 shots at this, and but I just think it's set up. Monaghan been written off a little bit. I heard, at the last weekend, after the manner of the defeat in Kildare, but like we know what it's like to follow Monaghan. We know that when you think it's all over, it's not, and they'll come back. And like I really do think they're going to give it everything now against Dublin. But it is a bad time. It's never a good time to play Dublin. But I would have, like, as we set up the way the league panned out, Sean, Dublin have got a win in Tyrone. Whatever way you want to look at it, going up there to Omagh into Healy Park and beating Tyrone the way they did, that was nice. That was a nice win. Comfortable against Donegal. Donegal had a great start last weekend, but Dublin just, the physicality, they pressed up on Donegal, caused them, and only for Sean Patton could have had more goals as well. He made a great save. On the saving though, I do have to say, after a very bad day at the office against Newbridge and a little bit of negative press that Rory Beggan got against Kerry, my God, he made some fantastic saves against Kildare. Real top drawer stuff. It could have been a lot worse on the scoreboard. We're on the scoring difference as well. I think we're just 2 points behind. I think Dublin have 2 extra points than us on the scoring difference, but probably won't come down to that. We just need one of those other 3 teams to lose, and we need to win, and that's all we can. And that's all Monaghan and Seamus McEnany can get them ready for. Get that performance, get that win, and whatever else happens. That's it.
Yeah, of course.
It'll be very interesting to see, Sean. Dublin have not been in this position. As you mentioned there, Monaghan have been in this position. They know what a relegation situation, relegation game is like, and I just wonder, how important will that be, it and home advantage for Monaghan? Like, I think I recall a couple of dingers down in Clones between Monaghan and Dublin where when Dublin were at their absolute pomp, Monaghan should have beaten them, got within a point, maybe got a draw one of those games. I'm just curious to see how this, and it is a slightly new Dublin team, how they deal with this pressure. Now, recent performances would tell you they've improved, but this is a new type of pressure. Usually the pressure is, well, we're being chased, we're the leaders, they're all after us, which gives you a confidence. This is, we're at the bottom end of the table, we're in danger of relegation, there's a trapdoor right there. It's a completely different mindset for these Dublin players, and it could be the making and breaking of this Dublin team on Sunday.
Yeah, it's probably unusual because people have often said Dublin, if they ever had been put into maybe an Ulster Championship, would they've had the success that they garnered coming out of Leinster. This isn't a championship game, but there's all the feels of it. It's a real dogfight, if you've noted there, and I suppose it'll be a real test of their credentials.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say there, Damien, it's a good point, but I'd love to see Gary Mohan in on the edge of the square, because I saw Michael Murphy cause a little bit of trouble. Michael Shield was in goals for Dublin, and he was under a bit of pressure on the high ball. Gary Mohan was one of the bright spots for Monaghan in Newbridge. He was their best player by a mile, got them off the mark, and he was an outlet all the time. And he was a physical player. That physicality, himself and Killian Lavelle were able to match Kildare. And I think Gary Mohan in there in the full back line, I think he'd give Davy Byrne, I think he'd be well fit. And I'd love to see Monaghan try a couple of balls in there, because I think Mohan's going to get better and better. And I don't think Dublin like that diagonal high ball in. They looked really did. And the other guy, Evan Comerford, doesn't really like the high ball either. So, new keepers, little bit of a cauldron in Clonus. Let's put a few testers in there and see what happens. That's what I'd love to see.
Just very briefly, Fergal, well, you'll see Dublin this weekend, but haven't seen Leinster. Is there a changing of the guard there? In fairness, Kildare seem to have maybe come up to the standard, or have Dublin dropped back?
Dublin have certainly come back a little bit. There's no doubt in it, and I know they have Con O'Callaghan to come back and everything, but they have come back. They've certainly come back, and what they've lost probably is that even though they're formidable and you would fear Dublin, they've lost the invincibility, and that's key for me. And Kildare have a big year coming up. Like they may stay in Division 1. We'll see. They put in some big performances. They're a physically big side. They've got a massive school structure. Naas won the Hogan Cup there last week. They're getting their house in order. But they are the team you would say that's best equipped to tackle Dublin. But they haven't always delivered, and they're going to have to get very close. I mean, I'm saying a Leinster final, maybe lose by a point or else win it, but they have to really go toe to toe to Dublin. The experts would say Dublin are still, favourites and should, but I think this is big for Kildare. It's time for Kildare now to deliver, because they've been nearly men, and this is a big opportunity, because Dublin have gone back a bit and Kildare have upped it. But it's the league at the same time, and I know we said it's a brilliant competition, but in the white heat of the championship, that's where the real litmus test is, and we see where Kildare are. But that's because just going back, I just hope that Monaghan do try a few of those. I just think that might be a little bit susceptible to the high ball in there with Gary Mohan.
Giving us hope, that's all we can pray for. So I suppose finally, I know time is running tight on us here. Damien, Cavan, league final, you'll be preparing for that a week from now on. We'll be chatting about that. That has to be the certainty. The one certainty we can take out of 4 divisions and 7 rounds or 8 rounds of games.
Yeah. Look, nothing else will be acceptable. Cavan have to make that league final. And like I was saying earlier, making that league final may not even just be enough for these lads. Coming towards the end of their career, at the age of 30, you're looking at what have you got on the shelf? What have you got to show for all the hours and all the work? And they put in a huge amount of time. Even if it is a Division 4 title, it's still a title. It's still a walking up the steps in Croke Park and picking up a cup. And that served Monaghan well when they were coming up from Division 3 to 2 into 1. That confidence, that visualization of walking those steps, I think that's a big thing, and I think it'll be important for Cavan to go and get a league title as well. So it's something that Mickey Graham, when he gets to that point, which we all assume he will do, get to the point of a league final, I think then we'll see his laser-like championship focus come out. As much as it's been put out this year that, the league is very important, which it hadn't been put out in the last few years. It's very important. We've got to get out of Division 4. That's priority. That's been put out. I still think that Mickey Graham's focus is always championship. He may talk that the league was, a big focus of his. He doesn't change his stripes that quickly. And I think we'll see laser-like championship focus from Mickey Graham. If we get to a league final, I think we'll see it against Antrim. That's when we'll see the best of what Cavan can do. But I think winning a title would be just a nice little way to finish off a league, which Cavan supporters have been disappointed with. And I nearly laugh sometimes thinking about it, that we're disappointed with 5 wins out of 6, but it's in Division 4 and the expectations were higher, and we didn't really hammer anybody either. So it's that balance in between that. Cavan, look at the exact same as Monaghan. Monaghan will be disappointed if they're relegated to the 9th position of all the teams in the country. It's not that bad of a position when you're looking up from where Cavan are, but it is the expectation. It is the supporters, what they want around the county, and Cavan will want silverware in the form of a League Cup this year.
Yeah, well, we wish them the best of luck. Live coverage with Damien on Saturday evening, 6 o'clock from Kingspan Breton with Aaron Woodworks Toyota dealership there on the Dublin Road in Cavan. Fergal, you're going to be in Clonus. It's going to be a big day. There'll be calculators and phones and iTabs and tablets and everything gathered around you, no doubt. There'll be plenty of word coming into your ear from all the other games. As I said, the one focus, Monaghan, a win, a performance, championship on the horizon, and trying to hold on to that Division 1 status.
Absolutely. Just get the performance, and if we put in the performance, hopefully the scoreboard will look after itself, and then it's in the lap of the gods after that. We can't do anything else after that. But I think it's going to be a great day in Clonus. I can't wait. It's going to be a nerve tingler, definitely.
Certainly hope it's big laps those gods have got. We're looking forward to it. Fergal and Tommy will be there in St. Tiernock's Park, and that's with thanks to Mecca Engineering in Ballina.